Mary Kay Ash said, "Even the smallest achievements pave a way to great success." Well, hello, Redlow friends. Welcome back to another episode of Hello Redlow. This is podcast episode number 50. Woohoo! And I celebrate that small achievement today. I am so happy you're here. I'm your host, Terry Mullen, and I am Redlow. I'm older, and today I'm celebrating all that I've done later in life. And one of those things is this podcast. So, as we spring forward with time, let's talk about what it means to do 50 podcast episodes and do it beyond 50 and what it has meant to me. So sit back and listen in. Wow, 50 podcast episodes. I just need to pause here and settle into that because I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for doing this later in life, in my 50s, and continuing to show up here with something that I'm really passionate about, which is encouraging midlife women to step forward one step at a time and embrace all that you are, especially in this season of life. I love sharing this journey through stories of my own and others, stories from those who are navigating these life transitions, overcoming hard things, reigniting your passions and dreams, and rediscovering who you are now in this season of life. I've been really reflective as I think about why I started this podcast to begin with and the journey it has been. It's honestly been a surprise and delight. I've found my way home to my heart and to my soul by trying to make a difference in the world through speaking and writing. And I'm grateful for each one of these episodes that I've shared from my heart and from those whom I've interviewed and openly shared theirs. These milestones matter, don't they? Both the great and small ones. I believe we have a tendency to step over our wins for a couple reasons. One, we minimize them, and we actually forget to acknowledge and celebrate them because we are just always moving towards the next thing, the next best thing. And secondly, I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to just keep moving forward, right? We don't even allow ourselves that opportunity to pause. We miss them because it's not even hardwired in our DNA to actually recognize them. But it's those pauses that actually inspire creativity and innovation and allow us to rest. And I'm learning how important it is to pause and just take a beat. Look how far you have come. It builds your confidence when you take a moment to reflect and see what you've accomplished. There's a study that was reported in the Harvard Business Review where researchers analyzed nearly 12,000 diary entries from over 200 workers. And what they identified was what they called their progress principle, which illustrates that the single most important thing during a workday is making progress in meaningful work. These small wins motivate people. They motivate the workers. They motivate all of us. And the more often we experience that sense of progress, the more likely we are to be productive. Fascinating, right? So stop downplaying your achievements. And I need to do this too. When I started this podcast, I was so nervous. I didn't even tell my friends, honestly. And I think I've shared this funny story about my friend who discovered that I actually had a podcast. I played so small, and I realized that I've done that most of my life. That's been a big aha, friends. Yes, I was afraid of being too much, always afraid to outshine others, even though I actually did in many ways with my grades and my achievements and things that I did. But I never wanted to overshadow anyone else or draw attention to myself, even though I had really big goals and really big dreams. But somewhere along the way, I stopped. Because when I became bigger, I wasn't accepted. And acceptance and approval became a big part of my mission. And that makes me cry. ... That's truth. I've had a lot of big personalities in my life. Those who sucked oxygen out of the room and out of me. People always needed more from me, and I continued to give until I couldn't anymore. When you are a positive charge or a light, and I say positive charge like a positive battery, pay attention to that, because others will plug into you. Those that need source from you, they can't get it on their own. So they plug into those who have a lot of energy and a lot of positive energy. If you are optimistic and you always seek ways to solve a problem and always helping, pay attention. Others plug into you, and you need to make sure you set boundaries, because you want to help people, but you have to set limits. Don't just keep giving until you have no charge left. I hope that resonates. So please pause today. Celebrate who you are. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate all that you have overcome, and look back at where you were a year ago, 5 years ago, and look at the progress that you've made. Now stay charged, connect to God and Spirit, and make sure you refill your own battery. And as I celebrate these 50 episodes, I celebrate the amazing women whom I've interviewed on this podcast. Those who've shared stories from the hard things that they've stepped over and beyond and started again. Stories of courage, overcoming loss, starting later in life, moving abroad, moving forward and beyond being an empty nester, and rediscovering their passions to paint, passions to write a book, start podcasts, and more. Some of those episodes are episode 21, From Muck to Magic with Wendy Knox, episode 20, Roots and Wings with Esther Getz, episode 18, Starting Again with a Blank Canvas with Donna Spadadal, episode 16, Hello, Midlife Transitions and Walking with Remedy with Cindy Anderson, and episode 12, Hello and Bonjour, Finding Purpose and Friendship After Hardship with Catherine Goatee. They're amazing. And today I celebrate these women, these 50 podcasts, and it's Women's History Month, a wonderful reason to celebrate all women and to celebrate life at 50 and beyond. And as I celebrate these 50 episodes, I celebrate being a female podcast host, because according to thepodcasthost.com, only 29% of all podcast creators in the US are women. So shout out to all female podcasters. Additionally, statistics show that about 75% of podcasts face what they call pod fade in less than 3 months of starting, and about 92% of all podcasters quit in about 6 months of actually starting their podcast. So those statistics are pretty inspiring and reminding me to pause and celebrate 50 podcast episodes. Okay, so let's also talk about 50. If you've been following me for a while, you know I love numbers and the meanings, and 50 is an awesome number. It has great significance and symbolizes several things. Number one, believing in yourself, being brave, confident, diligent, and optimistic. It symbolizes change and welcoming change and trying new things. It's about exploring your potential with all the courage that you have inside. And it's following your curiosities and your dreams and stepping forward and making them come true and not being afraid, no matter your age. And if you watched the Oscars, you saw Michelle Yeoh receive her first Oscar at the age of 60 for Best Female Actress. And she gave an amazing speech, right? Reminding us to never give up on our dreams and that dreams do come true. And the mic drop moment of the entire evening was when she said, "Ladies, don't let anybody tell you you are ever past your prime. Don't ever give up." Now that is a whole lot of female midlife empowerment right there. Just so incredibly inspiring. As for me, sitting behind this microphone in my 50s has taught me so much about myself. My 50s have been both fabulous and frenetic. They've been some of the hardest and the best years in my life because I've grown and learned the most about myself in this decade. My 50s have been really pivotal years. And I wonder if that's just because I've entered into the second half of life or I've been through really hard things. But so much changes in this season, right? By now, if you're like me, you've experienced a lot of life. You've walked in a lot of different shoes. You've taken different paths. You've had detours, speed bumps, yield signs, and icy roads that have sent you off spinning into the unknown. And you have also experienced the adventure of some amazing, wide open highways. You have experienced those highs and lows, success and failure, joy and sorrow. And now, in this season of life, we just kind of have a different perspective, don't we? We grow, learn, evolve, and enjoy life differently. Our kids have left home or are leaving home, and we are no longer tethered to numerous schedules or one specific place. Life is far more fluid, and so are we. And you now have an amazing opportunity to explore new things, because it's definitely not too late to give up on your dreams. In my 50s, I've had the opportunity to really think about those things that I really want to do, those goals and dreams that I set aside for so long. I've been able to set better boundaries and say no and feel comfortable with that, and realizing how healthy and important it is. I've stepped through really, really hard things, and I've really started to heal and let go of a whole lot of past trauma, those things that were really holding me back. And perhaps I've finally been able to see it, and maybe more importantly, I've been able to face it. I've been able to let go of very unhealthy relationships. In my 50s, I've finally been able to find my voice, which means I've been able to confidently stand up and speak up unapologetically and with grace, which is why I'm here behind this microphone, sharing my thoughts. In my 50s, I've also been able to embrace my imperfections. I've been able to rediscover what sets my soul on fire. And I've given myself permission to do the things I really enjoy and far less of what I don't. In my 50s, I've had really hard and honest conversations with myself and others. I've had the courage to shift, pivot, and start again and reinvent myself several times and not be embarrassed about that. If anything, it has empowered me and made me realize what I'm capable of. In my 50s, I've given myself permission to follow my curiosities, and I've become far less afraid of failing at those things I want to try. I've realized that failure is just an event, and that mindset has allowed me to fail forward, as John Maxwell says. And it's something to actually be excited about, not afraid of. In my 50s, I've been able to really let go of all of that perfectionism and show up as a messy C student. And trust me, I know how hard that is for all of us that are hardwired as A students. In my 50s, I got my idea for Hello Redlow. Redlow is older spelled backwards, and she symbolizes the midlife woman. I started this podcast at age 58, and at 59, I published my book, Step Forward. Imperfectly, yes, absolutely, but I did it, and I'm so proud of myself for doing it. So, as I celebrate 50 podcast episodes and doing this in my 50s and what I've learned about my 50s, it's time for you to pause and celebrate all that you've done in your life, or what you've done in your 50s, or whatever decade you're in. Celebrate how far you've come. Take a moment and write it down. Write down your wins, and then do something kind for yourself to celebrate it. Did you know that 50s actually also means new beginnings? How cool is that? 50 definitely was the beginning of a new season and stepping forward and into a new chapter of my life. And I can tell you today that it's awesome. 50s are fabulous. So how do we step forward with our age, our 50s, with confidence? Great question, right? I recently heard Brendan Burchard say that confidence is built when we believe in our ability to figure things out. And as we reflect on our life, being midlife, everything that we've overcome is a stepping stone to the next thing. And it's a tool that we can put in our toolkit and pull out as we need when we need to solve a problem or an issue in our life, because we've been there before and we have the tools to equip us to solve them. That's what gives us confidence. Does that make sense? When I was choosing the brand symbol for Hello Redlow, I thought long and hard about it. I chose the red high heel for a couple reasons. Number one, red is a strong color and symbolizes passion, fortitude, integrity, energy, and determination. And the high heel symbolizes confidence, especially for the midlife woman. I want us to go from that fearful little girl inside to a strong and confident woman. In my book, I say that we all need to step into these shoes and confidently step forward with our lives by standing tall in a crowd, pulling up a chair and having a seat at the table, entering a room, and knowing that we belong. My own life experience and my desire to pursue my goals in midlife led me right here right here to this podcast, Hello Redlow, my book Step Forward, and to you. I have a very strong desire to help women who are stepping into this next season of life. I want to empower you and encourage you and remind you that it is definitely never too late to restart or reignite those dreams and goals that you have inside. I could not help you, nor would I be this passionate if I had not gone through my own very difficult times and experienced my own failure and disappointments, and then rediscover my dreams later in life. I've had to learn to overcome really hard things, those things that were holding me back, as well as accept and celebrate who I am now, celebrate how far I've come. I think it's easy to downplay our strengths, and often we miss them altogether, or we just don't pay attention to them because we've been so busy helping everyone else. We ignore that small whisper in our soul, and I want to encourage you today to pay attention to it. Don't dismiss it. Don't shove it down. Let it burn deep within your spirit and allow it to be ignited. The world is waiting for you to shine bright like a diamond. You have so many gifts that are still waiting to unfold and to be shared with the world. And the world is waiting for your brilliance. So if you're in your 50s or midlife, celebrate your awesomeness, your quirkiness, your magic, and rise up and radiate your gifts and your light out into the world. And most importantly, stop playing small. Celebrate who you are. Celebrate your tiny victories and think about all that you've accomplished. Think about one thing you've accomplished today, no matter how small it is. It's time to start giving yourself credit for the things that might seem really minor, but they're really bigger than we realize. These small and significant steps that we take help us get to the bigger goals in our life, and they lead to a more confident you and a happier life. Know that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, and you belong. Let's step forward and continue to celebrate our life, celebrate 50 and beyond. Until we meet again, may God truly bless you. Well, I really hope this episode blessed your heart and soul today, and I hope that you pause, you take a moment and celebrate your wins, and I hope you see how amazing you are. If you'd like to reach out and connect, please do so. You can go to Hello Redlow Instagram and DM me there, or message me on my Facebook, Terry Mullen, and you can also leave a message here on the podcast, and I'll link all of these in the show notes. And my book, Step Forward, is available on Amazon. And if this podcast is blessing your heart and soul, please leave a rating. It helps all of us step forward. One of my favorite ratings says, Terry shines her light so bright and it overflows to those around her. This episode shows her light is all around, even in the strangers she meets along the way. She keeps her message authentic and makes me feel like I'm sitting next to her enjoying a hot cup of tea and sharing with each other. Thanks, Terry, for your openness, honesty, and heartwarming messages. May God continue to bless you, your family, and your work. And that just fills my heart with love, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Step forward and have an amazing day, friends.